Carl, the busy schedule for you keeps moving on. Obviously, with a trip to Solihull on Saturday. I mean, quickly looking back to Tuesday, I imagine it's probably a game where, given the frantic nature of it and everything going on, that actual game, I imagine there's probably a few more things been unearthed since then when you've actually digested it and looked at things with a less sort of emotional eye, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of good things. I think what I've learned since being a manager in the moment and during games, you're far more critical of your team in the moment than when you actually watch the game back and you watch the patterns of play unfold, particularly in the first 35-40 minutes, an urgency to our play, just really taking on board the detail and action in it. We need to obviously do that now more consistently. But the boys have obviously got a good feeling from the game. Could have been very different, but the character was superb to come back and win that game. And like I say, it's injected a good feeling around the place and positivity going towards the game tomorrow.
Yeah, you mentioned the result on Tuesday giving it a bit of a good feeling, a bit of momentum, I suppose, off the back of last weekend being a more frustrating one for you as a result-wise. But how important is that when you've got so many games in such a short space of time? Is that something that kind of carries lads through a bit, getting that momentum and that good feeling off the back of wins?
It is, it's huge. From a mentality point of view, the difference in feeling and the emotions from losing a game to winning a game, anybody that's involved in competitive sport, not just football, will tell you that, after the Altrincham game, myself in particular, just ruined me whole weekend. You completely switch off, you become a worse human being, family, don't like putting up with us when I'm in that state. I'm snappy and I'm just not the same because I hate losing. And the good thing is we have a lot of lads in that dressing room that feel exactly the same. So the difference between winning and losing, has a much bigger impact than maybe some would think. But particularly with this group, it's a young group. They thrive off the back of victories and that positive mentality that it brings. And we're certainly in a good place going into the game tomorrow, and we're all really looking forward to the game.
And you mentioned the game tomorrow, obviously a trip to Solihull. I feel like it's been mentioned a few times whenever we've been playing teams lately that they're in a period of transition in terms of a new manager coming in from the last time you played them. I think as well they're in a similar situation to ourselves on the injury front. I think we've got quite a few lads out by the sounds of things. But how are you looking ahead to that? Because of course games against Solihull tend to be pretty close run affairs of recent.
Yeah, obviously we've got huge respect for Solihull. Played against them last season in the trophy final. We know how good they are. Obviously Andy leaving will have an impact, there's no doubt. Matt has got his own style and the way he wants to play, and it's going to take him time. We're hoping that it doesn't click for our visit, but regardless of what position they're in, whether it's a difficult moment or a good moment for them, it doesn't change our approach. I think the game will suit us though, having watched the footage. If the boys are able to show the same urgency, start the game like they did at Sutton, then will be very difficult to stop. It's like you've said, the position that they're in with injuries and the transitional period with the manager. They've got hurdles and obstacles in their way, just as we have, and what we've had to deal with for a sustained period of time now. I suppose it's who deals with that better, and I think we've come through a real tough period. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. A few players back in contention. We feel like we're in a good place to go and get 3 points, and that's obviously what we'll try and achieve.
Yeah, you mentioned feeling like you're in a good place, obviously in terms of the squad at the minute. Jean was back on the bench in midweek. You mentioned Max was there or thereabouts and could have potentially been involved, and in terms of the new boys coming in as well, obviously Rolsey getting a couple, Tyrell getting a couple of assists as well. Newer lads that are coming in seem to be bedding in quickly, and as I say, lads who are here aren't a million miles away from being back in the picture either.
Yeah, we've got injured players coming back in, which is great. We still have a few of those injured players where there's going to be a period of time before we get them back. So we're having to be really patient with those. But Big John, he should now be able to train fully and have an active involvement. Max Sheaf is also, able to be named in the squad. But I think he needs a little bit more training behind him, to be honest. Get that sharpness back. But like I said, we've said it the other week as well, when players were starting to come back, or new players coming in, it just gives the squad a boost. So there's a lot of things coming together for us before this game. And obviously the victory the other day, players coming back in, all these different elements can help a player from a psychological point of view. So yeah, we're looking forward to having them back. And then the players that have come in, I think, have been outstanding. Rolsey has obviously had an impact in terms of the goals that he's scored, and then his general contribution and the relationship that he's able to build, particularly with Boots on the pitch. That's really important for us. And then Tyrell, I felt like even though he hasn't got his goal yet, his all-round play the other night was excellent. Real tidy with his back to goal, competed well in his duels, but then he's got obviously the pace to stretch beyond, and he looks a real threat with 2 assists. Tells you that he's a good footballing striker. So yeah, lots to be positive about going into the game.